Hello and welcome to Good Mad Days episode 2. So today we have Imal Fonseka. So we are going to hear from Imal many stories from the past and his perspective about today and the future of both advertising industry as well as the large marketing industry. Who is Imal? If you define Imal,
Well,
Imal is...
if I really want to hit the news and be in vogue with a typical or a great CEO, I would say I should be known for being a visionary, I should be known for being a strategist, I should be known for being the best operations guy around. But let's be honest. Let's be honest. If I really reflect back on who I have been, what I have, who I am, and what people who have worked with me say, right? I think I'm known for just two things, and two things will describe me best. Some would say I'm a good person. Simply, I'm a good person. And some would say he is amazing with numbers. And I think, really, in reflection, those are the two key competencies that really made me who I am, enable my career progress, enable me to make an impact with my teams in the companies I ran. That's something I think that truly defines me.
So tell us a little bit about right now what you do.
So I have pursued being an entrepreneur. I have set up with some of my friends a socially responsible organization that is into spice and herb mixes and sauces. We call ourselves, the brand is called Gourmet Twist. Fundamentally, our vision was to develop a farmer base using widows, war widows specifically. We are not fully successful there, but we have definitely developed a farmer base of people who were previously just day-to-day farmers who had no consistent income. We have created a farmer base who are now sufficiently some of whom will be VAT liable now, right? So to me that is an amazing achievement. I know they have to pay VAT, but I think that's really good growth. Then if I look at the workforce, we started off with 100% female workforce, but there was a defining difference. All the women we hired were primary wage earners in their families. So the husband was sometimes dead, husband was a drunkard, husband has just left them, or in some instances, this income was really required because they had a disabled child, and therefore also they had to therefore work in an organization that accommodate the flexibility that's required to take care of a different disabled child. So I think that's how we set it up, and we make every product we make. The final defining rule is it something that I would like to give my child? So no flavors, no additives, 100% natural. Perhaps therefore not the cheapest of products to make, but definitely the goodness is there. And so that's what I'm doing right now, and I really enjoy doing that.
So it's like good people make good products always. I think. Absolutely, it's a very interesting, and I think we should get to know more about it. And I think largely Sri Lankans needs to get to know more about this company and the vision of that as well, because you don't see a lot of businesses like that.
Yep.
So now let's get into our good mad days stories. So Imal, you started your career with JWT.
Yes.
So how do you started your advertising career? So tell us the story, how you how JWT opened doors for you to get into advertising.
So let's be honest about it. Whilst I was in school, I did everything else except focus on academics. So there was like most of us. So there was study leave, and some guys are studying. I had nothing much to do. I was doing various things. One of the things was reading the newspapers in the morning in the prefect's room. And I saw a lot of coverage at that time about this advertising awards. I think it was Ola at that time, advertising awards and exhibition that was happening. So a lot of coverage on advertising. I thought, wow, this may be something that I would like to do. because ideally I should have been a tea planter. My grandfather was a tea planter, my father is a tea planter, my uncles are tea planters, naturally that's where I should have moved. But something about what I saw seemed to excite me. And then I also saw these ads for trainee account executives with 2 companies, and JWT being one of them. So I wrote to JWT. And no sooner had I written, this lady responded, a lady called Lilamani, right? I had no clue who she was. I mean, with my little exposure, I thought maybe some assistant or a secretary or something. I didn't know. Anyway, she responded and said, listen, nice to hear from you. You need to finish your education first. But why don't you first come and look at the exhibition and see if this is an industry you want to be part of? It's something that will be interesting to do. So I came to Oberoi at that time, Cinnamon Grand today. The exhibition was there. I looked around, looked at the work, looked at the people, and I thought, wow, this is an industry that I want to be part of. So I looked around, figured out, asked people who this Dilamani person was. I didn't realize the pedestal she was kept in and how fearful most people were of her. She was an amazing, kind lady, but so I walked up to her and I, in all the confidence of a typical schoolboy, said, listen, I'm Imal Fonseka from Trinity College. You told me to come and have a look at this exhibition. I like what I see. I want to be part of this industry. Everyone around her went silent, and I think nobody would come and talk to her like that, some little brat particularly. So she asked me, so Imal, when are you finishing your A-levels? I said, Wednesday. She said, good. Are you studying? I said, well. I said, anyway, come for an interview on Friday. I came for the interview on Friday, and Monday I was working at JWT. So that's the start. And I must tell you, some things really happened. And I think that start at JWT, which at that time virtually had all the top brands and companies under its wing, ensured that I was exposed to great personalities, so that I could understand, absorb their confidence and stuff like that. Also be a recipient of great investment in education. So I think I really benefited with that move.
Right. So you so you joined as trainee account. So what were which all brands that you got to handle at the beginning?
As a trainee account executive, you were sent to do all the. Fundamentally, I used to, for the Lux account, I used to take cakes and flowers for the actresses, deliver, right? Which none of the senior people want to do.
That's also a good thing to do at that age, especially.
Yeah, exactly. But see, sadly, all of them were like aunties, right? Anyway, so I did that. Then I was put on Lankem, I was put on SmithKline Beecham, so on brand Panadol. So I went, and within my first month and a half, I think they saw something in me. And Willie Virasekara, the managing director of SmithKline Beecham at that time, called Ilamani and said, listen, confirm this fellow. I want him 100% to work on our account. I don't want anyone else. So that was an amazing opportunity for a school leaver who's been out of school for less than 2 months to handle Panadol, which at that time was the single largest brand advertised in Sri Lanka, and the other consumer OTC brands, and handle it 100%. So that was, I think, a pivotal moment in my career.
Oh, that's great. So, during your JWT days, do you remember any of the legendary people who were working at JWT at that time making those ads, other than Lilamani?
Yes.
Lilamani was
she was
queen
amazing.
of.
Yeah, but something that really, her focus on excellence. I think you cannot, forget that. There were times that I would be ready with a campaign and be about to leave the agency to present it to the client. She had to look at the final output. She would look at it, not like it sometime, call the client and say, Billy, Imal has showed me what he has for you. He's not coming. I don't like it. So that's the caliber of who she was, and that instilled a sense in us that nothing except the best will do, and I think that is a fact right throughout life. So there was people like Ruchi Gunawardana who brought amazing strategic thinking and influenced my strategic thinking. There were people like Ranil De Silva, who taught me great things about networking, working with people, amazing things that I've learned from him. and people like, people like Ranjit Pinto, who were veterans in the advertising industry at that time, who started, who've been through with Anand Tisadi Alvis, so people like that who really influenced and made me who I am. A good experience with Ranjit Pinto is one of my brand managers at that time called him and complained that I was late with something. Ranjit Pinto calls me to his room and says, Imal, this guy called me and told me this. Has he called you? I said, no. Well, if he has not called you, don't do it. When he calls you, go ahead and do it. So, as a boss, he had my back. And that is something that I have learned right throughout my career. You have your people's back. And so those are amazing characters who I think influenced who I was to become later on in life.
So how powerful was their creative departments?
Extremely powerful. But I think it taught me some amazing things. Richard Simon, Nelun Haraskam, Chandani, they were really, really powerful. So there were really, really powerful creative departments. There were extremely strong the operations teams, what you call this, the studios. Right? So it was there's a studio which was run like a dictatorship, and these creative guys who were, in another planet. We had film directors who thought they were God, right? And here was this 19-year-old brat trying to make things happen. And it meant that I had to build a personal relationship with each of them. I remember going to a copywriter and asking for the copy, and because I had a deadline to meet, and then I don't want to mention his name, so I said, when can I have it? He said, when the apple, because he was actually seated outside under a tree, when the apple falls on my head. And I was out to say, listen, my client can't wait for the apple. But you had to work with people like that. They came out with really exceptional work. But getting work done out of them was about building a relationship, about inspiring them, right? And getting them to support you in what you want to do. And that became true right throughout. Later on in life, when I became a brand manager, again, right? Brand manager is the smallest possible thing you can be in an organization. You had to go head on with the sales director, you had to go head on with the technical director, you had to, right? Finance director. But those little skills I learned, really made me successful, because I was able to get them to help me achieve the goals I wanted for the enterprise.
So which means if you can get a work done from a copywriter, like the demanding copywriter, which means that you can get done
anywhere.
That's a great, of course. So then, that also you mentioned it, but so from JWT, so you changed the size of the table.
Yeah, so listen, I won't deny that I had some of the greatest fun in the agent side of the business. That's why it is such a pleasure, even today, for me to walk in, right, and absorb the atmosphere of advertising agency. Still makes me very nostalgic, brings amazing memories. So I won't deny the fact that I had some of the greatest fun working in advertising. However, I had an amazing client who initially, first he did a couple of things for me. First he said, you need to get your academic credentials sorted out, which meant go and do your CIM. Now, it was so strict that I had to report to his secretary that I registered for the exams, that I have taken study leave. My CIM results never came to me, was sent directly from the CIM license office to the managing director, to the client, right? And his secretary would then call me and say, come, Mr. Veerasekara wants to talk to you. So if the results are good, it was a good discussion, or the results, like when I failed law, was a really bad discussion. But because of that push, right, I started following the academic side. Then the next thing he did was get me completely engrossed in the business. So that is something I really see. As an advertising person, as a brand person, sometimes you try to become an expert in your own area. That is not what it takes. He sent me to the factory. I used to go to Madampitia. I learned about every active ingredient that goes into all the brands, right? I learned about the competitor active ingredients, right? I got comfortable with that. Then I went on regular market visits with the sales teams, not only in the Western Province but also other outstation areas. That was a regular thing. I was an integral part of the SmithKline Beecham brand team. So much so that I would go, for example, agree the campaign with the brand team, and then before the brand managers and I would walk into the managing director's room, I would take the campaign, because marketing guys didn't want to talk to the sales guys. Go and meet the sales director, present him the campaign, get his feedback, and then go and meet the marketing director. So when he asked me, so what do sales guys think about it? I had that response too. So my point is, I think that's something that everyone must do. You need to get fully engrossed into that business. And so this guy, being virtually my mentor,
would you like to mention his name?
Yes, Willi Veerasekara, who was a managing director at SmithKline Beecham at that time. The guy actually who made Panadol what it is in this country. Previously, Disprin was the market leader. And he said, Imal, you will make a better brand manager than an ad person, right? In his very gentle way. And told me, listen, we all started at Unilever. You need to. And his secretary then brought me an ad with a paper cut out of an ad for assistant brand managers at Unilever. And he gave it to me and he told me, Imal, I want you to join Unilever. So it was an order, right? It was not about going for an interview. I think that was perhaps the most highly pressurized interview I went to, because unlike every other candidate, I had no choice. I had to get in, right? So I think I did everything right. Somehow I got in. But I think that my engagement and interaction with Willi Veerasekara and GlaxoSmithKline at that young age really changed my career.
So that's absolutely, that's a very great thing. I would say that in today's context, the connection between clients and the agencies, you don't really have that kind of, I'm not saying it's not there, but we are lacking that relationship.
No, I fully agree. I think I fully agree. As you said, there are instances, but at that time it was all about building relationships. So I had two clients, GlaxoSmithKline and Celtel, for example, when they were the dialogue of that day, right? So the marketing manager of there, Stuart Chapman, and I are still friends. In fact, end of this month, we are off to Wilpattu together. So it's 35 years later, right? I used to go to his house and his mother would make amazing meals for me because I used to live by myself. He would come to the estate and see my parents. So it is a very, very personal relationship. I've had similar relationships with people at GSK who a company I then subsequently joined later on, right? So I think Renuka Rubera, who's heading TBW Tel, so both of us were elbowed on two sides, right? I was the elbowed brand manager, she was the elbowed account executive. We fought like cats and dogs, right? We were both very young, both very opinionated, but we built an amazing friendship. In fact, when her son got married, I was there at the wedding, right? So these are relationships you build, right?
Exactly.
And I think you must take time to build those relationships because, once you build that trust, it makes a big difference because end of the day, building a brand is a partnership, right? So you need to do that together.
That's true. So I think that's, the way how this industry or any industry would work is by, I would say it's the empathy that works, like understand the other person.
Yeah.
But in your case it was a blessing, to have such a great client, like who entirely changed your future, I would say.
Exactly.
It would have been a different
the thing is, and it sustains, right? It goes on. So, for example, my O&M colleague, when I was who handled Panadol when I was in Vietnam, subsequently joined my team with Coca-Cola Far East in Vietnam.
What's his name?
Mr. Fung. Right? Then my account executive at O&M in Sri Lanka now has his own brand in the Middle East,
Right.
right? And to this date, when I attempting to enter the Middle East with some of the brands that I manage for so Sri Lankan companies, he acts like my counsel, right? He advises me. So these are friends. So it's all I'm saying is these are not things that only happen in my generation, right? So these are things that happen subsequently also.
Yeah.
So I think, but the onus is on each of you, right? So Mr. Fung, for example, in Vietnam, was not seen as a O&M resource. He was virtually part of the GSK brand team,
That's true.
right? So that's.
I think that's absolutely works for certain. I mean, even I do have some experiences with such certain brands
Yes,
that
yes,
I
yes.
get involved. So we sit. I mean, most of the time, we are a part of the brand, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
we
yeah.
understand and we act as one
Yes,
particular
yes,
team.
yes, yes.
So it's beyond money. It's beyond something completely different. So
yeah, yeah.
we work for that particular objective of how do we make the
Yes,
brand
yes.
successful. So I think that's what you said was absolutely
Exactly.
correct. So now, Imal, on the other end, from JWT, which company that you moved?
So I went to Unilever.
Unilever.
Yeah.
So were you working with? You had to work with JWT
No,
again?
no.
Okay.
Then with Unilever it was TEL.
Okay.
So that's how
Yes,
Renuka and I,
yes.
we were the board two
It was
board.
before it became TBWA.
Yes,
That's
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
Unilever.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. So because I mean, Pia's baby at that time was a brand that was a baby care brand only in Sri Lanka. So TEL had the agency, and so I mean, we learned the ropes together.
That's great. Right. So now I think you mentioned that as well. Now from Unilever. So if you can tell me how you moved your career from Unilever to where?
Yeah, so from the Unilever, I was looking at, see, I mean, simple fundamentals. Again, I looked at myself as a brand, right? I think that's important when you're planning your
You looked
careers.
at yourself as a brand.
I
Ah,
looked at
that's
myself
great.
as a brand.
That's
See,
actually a good lesson.
See,
for
I mean, listen,
everyone.
we have been assigned to manage brands owned by enterprises. And I think it's important that you also need to figure out and think of you as a brand. So one of the key fundamentals in building a sustainable brand is about building a differentiated proposition for the brand. So I felt so if I look at my personal brand, I need to build a differentiated proposition for me and for me to progress. At Unilever, I was feeling a little bit suffocated, really, to be honest, because I loved the freedom at JWT. Here I was executing someone else's plan, having to get approval for every little thing I did, right? It was a bit difficult for me. So I was looking at seeing what I could do, and then I realized one of the things was that one of the differentiators that I needed to do very early in my life is to show global exposure, right? There was also always a comfort factor being in your own homogeneous country. You're part of everything that happens. I want to see if my skills can work in environment where I'm not familiar in. So that's the opportunity I got in the Middle East. So I went as a product group manager to cover the 6 GCC countries: Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, and UAE. So again, there the fundamental fact was, most people think of that and say, okay, it's homogeneous, it's Arabs. It's not Arabs. There are Syrians, there's Jordanians, there's Palestinians, there are West Africans, there are East Africans. They are very different. You can't say the Africans, right? There are Indians, there's Pakistanis, Sri Lankans, small community, but still. So when you're managing a brand across 6 countries, you have to think of the dynamics with each of those population segments. We didn't have the analytics and the ability to target as much as we do right now. But I think that experience really made me show my mettle, because it is an unfamiliar market, not a homogeneous market, and the cost of failure was extremely high, right? One of the decisions I took, I almost got accused of pornography. I tied up. If I worked for a different company, I would have been actually. I tied up with Disney, with Pocahontas, to do a promotion for a kids brand. In 2 of my markets, when the promo material arrived, they looked at Pocahontas in a short skirt, and they said this is pornography, right? And thank God I was working for a very powerful country. for company, they were able to get the goods shipped to the other countries and sort it out. But actually, but those are like amazing experiences, right? Who would think that Pocahontas would get you into a
You
pornography?
can't explain that also.
You can't.
So that's actually a great thing, because now knowing the dynamics of the market, that the people that you are trying to deal with is one of the great lessons. So so from straight away from Unilever you moved into Middle East.
Middle East, and then when GSK was looking at expanding into the new territories, which are the new territories that are opening up in the Far East. So Vietnam was opening up, Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, that greater Mekong area was opening up. They were looking at young foot soldiers. So I seemed to be appropriate because I was working in the Middle East, which at that time was considered a hardship posting.
Which is true.
Which is true at that time, right? So they thought, if this guy can manage this diversity, we can drop him there. So I was just given a budget, and I was dropped in, and I fundamentally launched Panadol in Vietnam, and set up the consumer OTC business for GSK, and that completely brought a different skill set and gave me the opportunity. So that kept on going. And then there came a time when I wanted to come back to Sri Lanka. Sadly, with the merger, Sri Lanka as a country disappeared, and Sri Lanka became a territory of India, which meant that I had no longer the job grade available. Therefore, I joined Coke, Coca-Cola Far East, which enabled me to come to Sri Lanka for at least 14 days at a time, which never really happened, but at least it was on paper. And then so went on like that, and then so that's
basically. Is it Coca-Cola Vietnam or Coca-Cola?
No, Coca-Cola Far East. So we looked after the so basically India was its own division, Thailand was its own division, Philippines was its own division. Everything else came under Coca-Cola Far East. Yeah.
Like while working for Coca-Cola Far East, any memories that you had, or anything that is significant, something?
So I think, I think Coke is a really exciting brand to be with, and nothing ignites your passion like Coke. That experience per se is unmatchable. I don't think I can ever match it in any of my career subsequently. But a lesson I learned at Coke has stayed true right throughout my life. You know how the reward system works around volume consumption, market share, profitability, and we were looking at Far East as one region. In that there were small markets like Singapore, which whether you got the numbers right or not didn't really matter, because when you put it all together, you still got your bonus and your share options, right? So
markets like Indonesia was a part of it.
No, Indonesia was, Philippines was not. Yeah, so Philippines are big markets, right? So Philippines, Thailand, and India were not, but everything else. So Indonesia with all those countries, Singapore was not that significant, and we had to a great extent just let those markets be. And there was a real problem. Consumption was declining, particularly among teens. Favorite brand was declining, most preferred brand. All the required metrics for Coke versus PCI brands, we were declining in that particular segment. So we were asked to do a campaign, and so my boss put me and two other guys together. We were doing lots of other things which had a lot more impact on what we were doing. We quickly developed a campaign and went to Hong Kong to present it. And we were presenting it. We didn't get to more than 2 or 3 slides. The vice president of marketing was based to Asia at that time. She became headed marketing overall at Coke. Subsequently, she saw through our strategy and realized these guys had just done a quick job. And she said, listen, this is not the type of thinking I want at Coke. You guys are fired. Get out. Right? Now at Coke, you don't get letters, etc. When you're fired, you are fired. And I was just thinking, shit, now I had to come back home and tell my wife, I just lost my job because of some useless campaign I did in Singapore, right? And I was just thinking, what am I going to do? What's going to happen to my career, right? People know I got fired from Coke, right? So fortunately, I had a Canadian boss who was quite strong. He spoke to her, calmed her down and said, give us give us 2 weeks. We'll come with a better idea. And then she just got up and went, but that meant that we were not fired for the time being, right? But which it's taught, I mean, we came with an amazing campaign. We came with an amazing campaign, which is a launch of what they call the Ministry of Enjoyment in Singapore, based on some great insight, and it did the job it required. But my point is, it taught me never to take any issue lightly, that nothing except the best works, right? And so that's something that, never compromise that. If you can't do the best, don't do it, right? Always do the best. And I know a couple of successful entities in Sri Lanka believe in either doing what's required, or not doing it at all. Half-baked ideas are guaranteed to fail.
Okay, Mal. So that connects me with my next question on taking risks.
Yeah.
So, in your career throughout, tell us a little bit about stories which you have seen taking the biggest risks. It could be you, or it could be like the superiors, but being a part of the whole discussion.
So I think this risk taking, calculated risk taking, not like idiot, calculated risk taking, right, is a very, very important thing if you want to be if you want to lead a successful enterprise, if you want to be an entrepreneur, right? You have to be able to take calculated risks. I've been privy to, as someone, my bosses have taken massive risks with me. I don't think I have ever, so I think that's the biggest risk most of my bosses took. I don't think I had ever been 100% ready for any job I took over. I was maybe 70%. I learned the rest of it after I went in there. But my bosses are willing to say, okay, trust this guy, give him the chance, he will make it happen, right? And I think those really, really proved the way. There was a time when I was in the Middle East, I wanted to enter Lebanon. The senior people in the organization said, Imal, I don't think that's going to make happen, because there were some religious pressures between us, our sponsor sect and the sects there, and a couple of issues that could possibly go wrong. But I was very young, and I was saying, no, markets are similar, customers are similar, logistical it's easier, we have the competitive advantage, let's go. And I still remember what my boss said. My boss said, listen, he's a young boy. If we stop him from taking risks now, he will never ever take a risk in his life. So I think that is an essential message I learned. And I have then subsequently in my career given that freedom to everyone who worked with me. Be a worker in the factory, my supply chain colleagues, my sales colleagues, my marketing colleagues, taken the risk, haven't had a discussion, but taken the risks with them. Because I can see when you look at a campaign, particularly in social media, when you look at a campaign, you can very well see if this has gone through a 100-member boardroom, or if it is one brand manager and one creative person taking a chance on it, right? And those are the campaigns that make the difference, right? Trust me, if everyone is marching left, right, you are also going to march left, right. Just because you're going to scream louder is not going to get you any new consumers, right? You have to break it, right? And that is about taking risks, calculated risks, well thought of risks, and it works, right? It works, but sadly the boss must trust you, the boss must have your back, right? And give the opportunity for the marketing and the communication guys to take the risk. And I'm telling you, trust me, I'm telling you, it has had dividends in my life.
That's great. So is it that also connects with advertising, agency and client relationship? So we have spoken about it earlier also, but what do you think of the current context of the agency and client relationship versus what it was there in the past?
So I think it is deteriorated, and for one fundamental reason. Hitherto, the agency was the single body that did everything to do with communication. Outdoor, we didn't have digital, but media, I mean, everything was done by the agency. Then you started having specialized agencies, and that became, that relationship. So each brand colleague had a couple of communication people he or she worked with. So that deteriorated to some extent. And also from an agency side, I find that everyone is an absolute expert on that little bit that he or she does, right? You're an absolute expert, but you have no clue with the rest of it, right? When agency colleagues have come for meetings, I have asked them, have you been to the market? Have you gone and met retailers? How many customers of our product have you spoken to? How many customers of our competitor product have you spoken to, right? What do you know about our category that's happening in Europe? See, I mean, there's a great correlation if you look at the GDPs that's right next to us. So I've seen, so look at Thailand, Philippines, you see the trends that are happening there, you can see it repeated here very soon. Are you studying those markets? What's happening to our categories? Those things are not done. So when that is not done, that relationship is not there. Then it is a supplier relationship. Listen, it is a joint goal to build a brand, right? It's a really, really responsible job, right? And high impact job. You are building the future value of the client's enterprise. So you have to be part of that, right? So there are a couple of issues. I mean, also, so as I said, one side from the agency colleagues, they are being very focused on that little bit and not look at the whole big picture, right? I haven't had I have had very few agency people who come and say, listen, take me to your factory, right? Take me to your farmers, right? Show how the backward integration works. Very few people, so that doesn't happen. Then on the other side, from a brand terms perspective, brand people have also become like that. Right? That is really sad. I mean, I go for meetings and brand people are experts at brand equity.
Yeah.
They have no clue about the production side.
Yeah.
Right? I go for meetings, I want to discuss financials, and the accountants come. And I'm saying, what the hell are you doing here? Right? You must know the numbers, not the finance guys. If you want analysis, have a chat with the finance guys. You must know what goes in. You must know what cost, what is charged, right? What variables are charged. That is your job, right? Sadly, marketers also have become very, very focused. So this is the reason why I think that relationship does not work as well as it did before.
So which means, like, let's say even if it is a brand manager, ideally needs to act as an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, a brand manager CEO.
Yeah, brand manager CEO.
You are brand manager CEO, right? You have to be able to fight with production and understand the impact of the raw material loss.
Yeah.
You must understand why so many man hours go towards packing your product. Maybe some innovation on your side can help.
Yeah.
Right? Because all of that is cost. You must understand why certain things are charged to your brand. If you don't question, you will never know. I mean, I figured out when I was at Unilever that the factory ambulance was charged to my brand. Right? And I was signing it like a hero until I find this out. Right? Why should I take that cost? Right? I used to come as an assistant brand manager, to come to work by bus. There were 2 cars charged to my brand. Right? Who's this brand manager was using 2 cars? Right? So, I mean, things like that.
You
so
cannot campaign.
Exactly.
It comes to the MP.
So my point is, right, so unless as a brand manager you get focused on those. So see, managing a brand is not about advertising at all. Advertising is one part of it. Albeit the most important part of it, because you are building a relationship with your consumers. But there's a lot more that goes around it, right? So that's important.
I think that you mentioned earlier when you were working for, when you were working at JWT, SmithKline
Yes.
showed you the entire factory,
Yes,
the
yes,
entire
yes,
process.
yes.
I think that is needed, right? Like,
I think
agencies need to know the entire process of how these products being produced.
Exactly. I mean, you and build relationship. I mean, even with sales colleagues, right? Because those are the poor guys who go to retailers and get chased off, right?
Yeah.
So you go and understand those challenges. You get their support, and you might get some amazing insight, right? By talking to those guys, because they meet your customers and your consumers on a daily basis.
That's true.
Right? So, I think as agency, when I took over a certain company, I uh, uh, I made it a requirement that every brand manager who comes to present the monthly brand review has at least 2 days of market visits a month. I was very sad to do it because it must be an inner thing that you want to
you
do.
don't have to sell that.
Exactly.
You have to come from.
But it is a fact.
I think that's probably a reason maybe we are not getting great work.
I think so. Yeah, you're right. Because I mean, how much can you depend on some analytics, right? It has to be intuitive.
That's true.
A lot of these calls are made intuitively, and you have to build your intuition. Intuition is not a gift that comes down from God.
That's true.
You have to build it, and that comes to exposure and experience.
Even in terms of analytics, what we see, like, while I'm also one half of me is advertising,
Yes,
the
yes.
other half is more tech. So in terms of analytics, we've seen it's more we call it these vanity metrics. They just chase behind. Now, if you do a campaign, what they want to do is get the maximum number of views.
Yeah.
But I think ideally it should be the impact.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
that campaign can change the brand and
Yeah.
make that brand as a very influential brand.
So this is the other thing. Also now today, when you say that you need to work with analytics, you are dependent on a third-party agency to do some analytics and present a nice dashboard. You have no clue beyond the dashboard.
Okay.
You have to be comfortable enough to sit, look at data, analyze it this way and that way.
Yeah, deep
right?
dive it.
Deep
Otherwise,
dive.
you have to get the guys to help you.
Exactly. I mean, you have amazing resource, right? Which we never had, and the technology that enables you to do that, to build correlations, right? So do that, and that's what does not happen.
No, I think that's absolutely true. Like at one point, some time back, one of the campaign that we worked on, so we were briefed on their creative, and the brief was given, but while so since we were the digital agency also for that brand, we had the access to their Google Analytics. So we went through the Google Analytics, then we saw for certain products that these are like consumer electronic brands, the brief says something different, and the consumers who are like, we call it the middle of the funnel consumer is completely different. So then we had a campaign, like according to the analytics, we did the campaign and we took a risk, and we went there and we told them, okay, so as per your brief, you have given us an audience, but we did this research or whatever analytical thing. We figured now this is not the right audience for you. This is the audience in the middle of the funnel. So maybe you have to focus on these guys.
And did they buy that?
Then we asked them, don't make any decision right now. If you like the campaign idea, we can keep it, and then there are tweaks that if at all, if there are differences, then we can do certain tweaks. But just go and talk to those flagship stores or wherever, and talk to them and let us know, what are the questions come from these type of people. Yeah, like the next day, in fact, they made some calls then and there. They said,
So that's the thing, right? I'm glad that there is pushback like that, because that is important, right? Because if you guys just went and respond to the brief, you could have had some billing. Launch a campaign. No dividends.
That's true.
Right?
So apparently that campaign was in that particular brand. We use little bit of e-commerce part as well. It was definitely a successful campaign. On top of that, that was the only campaign they have got the highest e-commerce sales as well.
Exactly. So they had
mobile phones.
Yes.
And this is beyond. Obviously, these are like white goods.
Yes.
So it was successful over mobiles also.
So that's the thing. So the fundamental point is good insight, right?
Yeah.
Nothing beats good insight. The sad thing is, my expectation with the brand guys would say, exactly, that's what I've observed, right? So that's the intuition that comes. Even after I was a CEO, I would still go on my market visits. I never visited the big outlets in the big roads. that's the people to do that. I would always take side roads, get into areas, go into shops that are close to houses, stop there, have a cup of tea with the Mudalali, wait for consumers to come, have a chat with the consumers, right? Listen, I was not picking up data, but it was building my intuition. So the next time I reviewed a campaign or I saw an idea, there was real life experience behind me, right? And that made me able to take a call to say, listen, this will work. I made mistakes, massive mistakes, right? But at least, there's some greater chance that I'll make a success of it.
That's true. One of the key highlight of that whole thing is about the insight.
Yeah.
So I remember even at that panel discussion, Sandhya mentioned a little bit about finding the insight, the effort that they took to figure the insight.
Exactly.
They move out and talk to people, talk to the farmers, whatever. I think that is where what we are lacking right now. We don't put so much of effort to understand the insight over. But most of the time, what I also observed is that they put effort to get things done faster and scale the level of productions. Like if I get this brand and then I want to get something else, and then or rather I want to get this particular production, whatever. Pitch for everything. So more than building
a brand,
for a long lasting.
So this, I think this whole short-term thinking is the issue, right? Yes, I do accept that FMCG CEOs, based on data, have perhaps the shortest cycle across the world, life cycle. CMOs also similar because it's a high-risk business, right? And environments have really been challenged right now. So particularly in the big corporates, but nothing replaces the prerequisite for long-term thinking of the brand, right? So the thing is, a lot of people tell me, Imal, campaigns are short-term right now. I said, no, that is not it. You need agility. You need fast response, right? That is true, right? Nothing is short-term. Everything is about building the journey towards the goal that you have. So every activity you must do. See, if you want something to get you another 10 metric tons, talk to trade marketing. They will do something, right? Your job is to build a long-term brand, build your brand long-term and build the equity, which means everything that you do, right? And by the way, if you have been visiting the market often enough, if you have been watching what your competitors are doing in this country and similar competitors are doing across the world, you can most probably figure out what will happen next. So there won't be any need for these quick fixes. You can plan, you can preempt, you can have campaigns ready, you can have ideas ready. So that, but everything should fit in. Everything should fit into that big story of the brand.
That's true. So my final question of this episode is what is your advice for the young marketers and also for the advertising people? How do they build a great brand of themselves?
So I would start by saying, listen, if you want a job, don't get into marketing or advertising. There are enough jobs in the country, right? You can become an accountant, there's supply chain jobs, there's manufacturing jobs, lots of jobs, finance jobs, right?
Tech jobs,
right? See, all those jobs work within a secure confinement of a level of certainty, right? So all those jobs can be done. There's no problem. Go for those jobs. But if you have a fire burning within you to do something different, right? Then get into marketing and advertising. See, remember, this is one of the most powerful jobs in the world. You, right, as a young guy, young 20, 30-year-old someone, is getting a mass of people to think in a particular way and behave in a particular way, right? How many people can do it, right? Even the president of this country can force people to act in a particular way, but can't get them to do it out of their convictions, right? So it's a really powerful job. So if that type of thing excites you, if working in uncertainty excites you, because understand, if you're in supply chain, they work on a on plan versus actual, production, plan versus actual. You give the forecast. Your forecast is uncertain, right? Your route to market colleagues work on visibility, purity, availability, productivity, right? But that's still within level of certainty. If you don't create offtake, everything else falls behind, right? Your finance guys look at your number and come and tell you and the company how well you should have done it and all the mistakes you have done, but they are not going to bring the dollars, right? So my point is, if that type of thing excites you, this is what you must do, right? And my only, so two things I would say: this is not a job. You must have a passion for doing this. If you don't have the passion, don't waste your time. And number two, continuously build on a single skill, which I think is most important, which is intuition. Intuition for the brand, intuition for the business, and that will only come from taking time to look at every possible element of your business, your competitor's business, and the category across the world.
Okay, that's great. So before we wind up, I'll ask another question. It has nothing to do with work, but about wildlife photography. And tell me, like, this is something that,
Yeah.
we always tend to think when we work, but I mean, how do you really enjoy your life?
So I have made it, I mean, end of the day, my wife and I have made it a part of our life that every month we will take a few days off. And every month we will go into the jungle and spend some time with the animals. Now, the thing is, a lot of people say, what the hell is in this? Because most people get into a safari jeep. And they are driving, sometimes you fall asleep, and then some people you show some animals, you see, if you want, take a photograph and come. So my wife and I go there for different purposes. We enjoy the jungle to start with. We look at all animals, right? All types of birds, which, I mean, I was really surprised when I came back from Kenya last time. One of my friends and his wife had been to Kenya before me, said, but there are birds in Kenya. Right? Because they were looking at the big five. My God, this is amazing array of bird life, right? So this is what happens. So that's why a lot of people don't really enjoy wildlife the way I do, or my wife and I do. So we also work with two trackers that I've worked with for maybe 15, 20 years. And both of us personally track. And that's what's exciting, right? That's what's exciting because we are listening to visual cues, right? We are listening to audio cues, right? So constantly you're looking at visual cues that a particular animal may have gone this way or come that way, and we are listening to audio cues from other animals, so that they give us cues to say so and so, maybe this particular animal is coming that way, right? And then once you get to a site, that is where it's almost like working in a boardroom, right? So you're there, right? It's work like managing your brand. You're there and saying, okay, now we know there is a leopard perhaps there, and right now, will the leopard come this way, or will the leopard go that way, right? You have to think about it, right? Where is a great probability? Okay, he's after a kill, he may come to drink water, or no, his now job's done, or he's walking back this. So you need to figure that out, right? And that excitement of then figuring that out, going, staying in the right location, and then spotting the animal. My God, that's an amazing experience. So it's a lot more than just spotting animal and taking photograph.
Yes. So that's brilliant, and I think that's how you enjoy your life and have a meaning for your life.
Yes.
And finally, it's all sum up with how do we spend a good life as a good human. So many great insights came from a great human. I think that's what matters at the end. Uh, Being a great person is the hardest thing, that which you won't be able to buy that through anything. That has to come naturally. So Imal is a great example of being a great human. And we are so much grateful to have him here today. And thank you so much, Imal, once again for being a part of this podcast.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So we will be meeting you again with another a veteran and a legendary personality. Good man days. Thank you so much.